Hi, my name is Conrad Hunter. I'm a senior at Hillsborough High School in the IB program, and the title of my presentation is The Media's Influence on Public Perception. Back in February of 2015, the Federal Communications Commission ruled in favor of the Obama administration's net neutrality laws. In short, these laws made internet service providers provide internet at an affordable rate without giving them the ability to throttle a consumer's internet if they do not pay a premium. However, in 2016, current Republican President Donald Trump won the election, and in 2017, he appointed former Verizon lawyer Ajit Pai to the chairman seat of the FCC. As chairman, one of his first promises was to repeal the Obama administration's net neutrality laws. Immediately, questions were raised regarding the efficacy of appointing Ajit Pai and about the decision to repeal net neutrality. Net neutrality made equal and affordable internet available to more consumers, and the decision to repeal it would largely benefit ISPs, who would be able to charge more after the repeal of the act. Ajit Pai spread information about how the repeal would be positive for American consumers, and the story about the repeal was run very heavily until the repeal was successful. To me, this immediately raised questions regarding Ajit Pai's motives, and I raised the question of how bias influences shared knowledge. The information spread online regarding the repeal of net neutrality caused the formation of two vocal groups and one less informed group. One of these vocal groups that formed were people who agree more with right-leaning politics. This group believed that the repeal of net neutrality would benefit everyone because ISPs would be able to charge competitive prices for the internet in a competitive market. The second vocal group that formed were people who aligned more with left-leaning politics. These people believed that repealing the Title II net neutrality regulations would impact people's access to the internet due to an inability to pay for higher prices. To properly explore the situation, though, we must first break down what constitutes shared knowledge and bias. Shared knowledge is a sum total of knowledge we communicate to each other. For instance, the shared knowledge is the statement Ajit Pai made regarding the benefits of net neutrality's repeal. In short, he stated that ISPs cannot compete in the current market because the law made it illegal to offer competitive plans. He can safely make this claim, knowing that it would be largely publicized by the media, thus becoming shared knowledge. Now we have to determine the bias as well. Bias is defined as the favor one has regarding a belief. We know that Ajit Pai is a former employee of Verizon, and he also has ties to the chairman of large ISPs due to this former position. He knows that net neutrality hurts the profits of internet service providers because they're no longer able to offer competitive internet plans. If ISPs had a person they could directly communicate with within the FCC, then they'd have the ability to push for the repeal of net neutrality, thus increasing their profit margins. This uncovers the bias Ajit has in favor of ISPs. Essentially, Ajit Pai uses his own personal bias to promote the repeal of net neutrality by making it look more appealing to consumers through the use of claims that the media then picked up on and spread to the general public, making the information shared knowledge. Keeping this all in mind, it's now possible to explore the extent to which bias influences people's reasoning. We need to explore how bias will impact the information people take in to be properly informed about a situation. Confirmation bias is the concept on how people will find sources of information that directly align with their own personal views. This has a very significant effect on people's personal knowledge because all of the information that they're taking in will be heavily skewed towards one belief as opposed to knowing the objective truth of a situation. One example of this is people with right-leaning views using Fox News as their main source of info. Fox News has a history of appealing to right-winged people. Ajit Pai is also a Republican, and he was nominated by the current Republican President Donald Trump. Thus, Fox News was quick to defend the repeal of net neutrality because not only did it align with their own views, but it aligned with the views of their viewers. The confirmation is very clear in this situation. Fox News is providing information with more fruitful language that is misinforming viewers and readers about the full impact of the repeal by only taking into account one side. But the same can be said and easily seen when looking at left leaning news network CNN. Their headlines and data are presented in such a way that reaffirms their own beliefs and the beliefs of their viewers. The method that news sources are taking of presenting this information with bias is going to have a major impact on people's reasoning. People are taking in shared knowledge from these biased sources, whether they understand that the sources are biased or not, and their information is being skewed towards one side. The issue of bias impacting a person's reasoning is made even more clear when it comes to the decision-making process. Bias is placing a person's preferred inclination at the forefront of their own decision-making. People also tend to spread their own biased beliefs with others to justify their own beliefs. In a digital age, spreading information is as easy as ever with social media sites like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the list goes on. With many mediums to spread information, it's very easy for biases to be confirmed through confirmation bias. People will post their own beliefs online with the sole intention of not only finding others who agree with their viewpoints, but also to spread their viewpoints to those with maybe opposing viewpoints or those with no viewpoints at all. In regard to the repeal of Title II net neutrality internet regulations, many took to the internet to spread their beliefs. At the forefront of the movement to save net neutrality were content creators and others who make their money based on sites such as YouTube. YouTubers have a bias in favor of saving net neutrality because they require an audience to make money. So if everybody has equal affordable access to the internet, they benefit greatly from it. They were also very informed about the positive and negative consequences of repealing net neutrality because of the sheer amount of time they spend on the internet compared to any other person. They knew if net neutrality was repealed, the internet would be a competitive market that would impact every single user across the nation. The main goal of content creators thus became spreading their own viewpoints about the repeal of net neutrality. These content creators knew that people would be seeking out information about the situation. By taking shared knowledge mixed with bias, they presented an anti-repeal argument that confirmed the beliefs of many others. People in comment sections on all social media platforms took to posting their own beliefs to find others with the same beliefs to justify their own, and to try and convince other sides why their viewpoint was right. Both viewpoints were providing some factual information to some extent, but it's easy to see how people will confirm their beliefs through others. Bias has a very strong influence on shared knowledge. The personal bias of PewDiePie and the information he spreads impacted the entire narrative regarding net neutrality's repeal. His words were weaponized by right-winged media and believers to promote the repeal of Title II regulations. Left-wing media and content creators, on the other hand, took to spreading information that went against the right-wing narrative of the repeal being positive for the internet and the nation as a whole. People on both sides took to spreading knowledge that was considered factual by others with the same beliefs, thus making it shared knowledge that was impacted by bias. The same situations of shared knowledge impacting bias can be seen in many other scenarios as well. For example, the current media narrative surrounding Black Lives Matter protests differs heavily when comparing right-wing sources such as Fox News and left-wing sources such as CNN. Another situation that differs heavily is the 2020 presidential election results. The right-winged media will say that results were fraudulent, while left-wing media will say that the results are correct with no voter fraud evident. Both shared knowledge and bias have a very crucial effect on shaping people's reasoning on a very large scale. Thank you.